that's why I say I'm an artist. I'm an artist because it's just hard. I don't think I'm at the level or like consistency of creating where I can call myself an artist. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the Graveyard Shift with your host Enrique
and Cody.
We are here to talk about. What are we going to talk? We talk about horror, but I feel like that's really
broad.
And it's it's broad, but it's also like, I think it's narrow. I don't think people understand what I mean when I say horror, or like people have different ideas.
I don't understand what you mean when you say it's broad but narrow.
No, I mean like it's not broad, it's a narrow because like horror, people automatically assume like horror movies or like vampires and like Halloween shit, but I'm like talking about everything that is like horrible of reality in reality, like just exploring that and like having that morbid curiosity.
Yeah, it's the stuff that makes you sometimes viscerally feel something. Like,
Well, I mean, personally, I really like it because it's like, I love that feeling of feeling like afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, I don't know, just
because we just don't have enough going on in our lives.
A
and
bit.
then one of these things pops up and it's like, hey, I got that safe scaredness.
Yeah, it's that
safe fear.
Yeah, it's that kind of voyeuristic fear too, where it's like we're not actually in danger, but it's really exciting that we can feel like we are.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of that's kind of who we are when it comes to this stuff. We're definitely not the ghost hunters or the urban explorers or anything like that. I also don't really believe in much of it. Like I think you're way more interested in occult things than I am, just because I don't buy into it that much.
How do you feel about orbs?
They're just aren't they? They're just cameras.
They're just dust particles.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Don't worry. The reason so many fucking people find orbs is because anytime you break into this musty ass old place and start rustling stuff around, everything kicks up in the air.
I was like really scared that you're gonna tell me you like believe in orbs or that orbs are Satan.
I don't believe in orbs. I believe in aliens.
Yeah. Also, the rods are bullshit too. They're just a camera effect too. That's a whole mythology behind little creatures called rods that are just insects that fly too fast for cameras to like properly catch them.
How about you open your fucking mind and realize that rods are real, but orbs are stupid. But rods are a thing.
No, rods aren't real.
No, rods are real.
No, it's the one thing Monster Quest actually managed to do, which was disprove rods.
Well, they're usually wrong, so why would you think they're right the one time it fits your agenda?
Today we're gonna, I think today's just kind of like this is gonna be our like kind of shorter intro episode.
It's just the intro to us.
Yeah, and also I think like what we're gonna do today is we're gonna read some scary stuff for you guys. We're not really gonna get into any of the real. What we hope this podcast is gonna be is like us researching these topics and like discussing them with you guys, basically.
Yeah.
Like horror
it's a conversation.
It's a conversation. We're hope to like we'll make your car ride or your homework a little bit more entertaining. Today we're just going to be reading some stuff. I think what we're going to be reading falls under like creepypasta, and well, I mostly like green text stories.
Yeah.
So I brought green text stories. For those of you who don't know what a green text story is, it's just basically a short story, but it's truncated in a way that like removes most like what would you call like grammar.
Yeah, it's sort of the idea of a person telling a personal experience they have with something creepy. That's not what a green text itself is, but like
in this context,
horror green text is kind of that way.
Yeah, usually the idea is with the like green text story in general is that it's a story told from first person perspective.
Yeah, and who was phoned, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then creepypasta are just kind of urban legends that are spread through the internet.
Yeah, they're just like scary short stories that people write.
Yeah. Or, well, I mean, they first were just urban legends and like old scary stories retold. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times when you look for creepypastas, you'll run into a lot of stories that I found in one of my favorite like book series, which was the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series. You'll find a lot of those if you like just Google creepypasta, you'll find that in like the typical black page white text creepypasta format. That's kind of what we're gonna get into.
Every once in a while, there's a gem.
It was a gem. I think there's a lot. That's kind of why I like the green tech stories a lot more, because I think there's a lot more gems to be found, and they're a lot more easy to get invested into. And they usually are shorter. I think horror is a lot better when it's shorter, unlike some things.
Just wait.
But I think there's some really good stuff out there in the green text thing. But a little bit more on us before we like jump into that. Well, should we just like parcel it out, talking about us?
No.
Okay.
What are your interests?
Well, I'd say I was always just kind of interested in, like, I think I started off with, like, aliens. I was obsessed with aliens as a kid, like, to the point where, like, I was that, like, weird kid who had, like, all that shitty alien merchandise. I used to collect those, like, little 25-cent alien toys, and I would really believe, and I'd always be looking up at the sky for shit. I actually remember seeing, like, in the sky, like, almost every other day, like, these little, like, silver spheres, and I never knew what they were. And that's just, I never got an answer about those.
Rods.
Fuck you. Look, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I was, like, a hardcore believer, and I usually kind of roll my eyes when I hear about people, like, discussing that stuff these days, because it's, like, most of the stuff people are into, like, today when it comes to aliens and stuff, I was reading when I was, like, 10. It's like so...
I feel like this is a personal attack.
It is?
I was reading the same shit when I was 10. I just kept up with it.
Okay, let's talk about yourself then, you shit.
Alright. I personally love the occult. I've always been fairly interested in it because ever since I was a kid, I was always very skittish with just about everything. I really, really enjoy horror movies. I think one of the things that really rooted that with me is whenever my dad and I used to watch horror movies, after we would finish them, he would just make it his personal goal for the next week to every single time it got dark, he would sneak outside and just scare the living shit out of me.
Jesus.
And just torment me for like a week at a time.
God damn.
But the thing is, it was a fantastic experience that really got me interested in this kind of thing, and I guess that's it.
I mean, I kind of had a similar thing, but also I guess like my main difference is I don't believe in any of it anymore. That's why like the occult stuff doesn't interest me as much. I less
believe than I would like to believe.
I think you look at it...
I'd rather look into it because even if it's not real and it doesn't exist, it's some of the best written fiction and like most
I'd even disagree
easily
with
invested
that.
into
I
fiction.
think the reptilians are ridiculously bad fiction.
Reptilians are fucking stupid.
Yeah, but I mean like it's... I mean look... A lot of occult shit is stupid. You know what? No, that's not fair.
That's
I don't
not
like it.
Fair.
I don't like using that word either because it's like it doesn't really say anything.
With a lot of these things, the ghost hunters and yada yada yada, it's almost as much about a little community as it is about going out and finding these things.
Yeah, that's true. It usually
it's in the same way that like we find other doofy art people that we hang out with.
Yeah,
we found each other because of horror shit.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, there's something about the occult aspect. I think it's just the fanaticism of it that usually puts me off. I have discussing any entertainment with me is just such a short conversation because I'm always just like, yeah, I don't like that, or it was good. That's all I have to say about it. I'm not much of a fanatic for things. I usually will say they're good or they're bad and this is why. I don't become dedicated to things. Yeah. And I think a lot of paranormal and occult stuff has a lot of people just put a lot into it. They just become dedicated,
obsessive and dedicated to the point that they don't want to actually be proven wrong, so they don't look as hard.
Yeah, they want to believe basically. I don't. I just kind of want to see what's there and have fun poking around in it.
I was gonna say it's fun to look into it and research into
which is actually why I kind of I kind of like the more weird, unsolved true horror kind of stuff too some more now these days, because it's just there isn't that much fantastical elements of it. Sometimes I like it when there is a bit I hope we get to them. There's a lot of cases of we could probably even do a whole episode about just found photos and stuff, or just missing people that all they found is this kind of stuff like that, or
or mysterious disappearances.
Yeah, no, there's some fucked up ones that I love to talk about because they're just so shit, man.
Just seeing one of those freaky ass photos of oh, this person had something just fucking horrible happen to them. It's guttural.
Yeah, no, but I was as a kid, I was just waiting to be abducted, basically. I was really hoping it would happen, and I was like expecting. I always thought like aliens would just be like, hey, let's help the humans. So I expected them to abduct me and make me like, I don't know, better somehow. It was just really. I was really
silly child.
Yeah, and then when it came to ghosts and shit, I was just like, to me, that was always like, yeah, they're real. Who cares? Like that's all it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't really like. I didn't really care about it beyond that. Like.
Mm-hmm. I lived in a couple of houses that were not like horrifically haunted, but like they were haunted. It was the kind of shit that would keep me up at night and kept me up at night.
That's about it, yeah.
That was about it. There were hallways that I couldn't walk down. I'd have to sprint because I, for some reason, thought that, ghosts can't catch you if you're just a chubby little white boy running down the hallway. Because you start picking up speed.
Yeah.
When you're a little chubby kid because you're really top heavy and you just barrel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think... Also, I don't think I think I when I was a kid, I had the rug pulled out from under me in a lot of weird ways, or like I was very, I guess my best example is like, I grew up kind of like in a more urban environment, so like when people, like, Santa Claus to me automatically was like, how does he get in? No one here has chimneys, like, there's no one in southern fucking California who has a goddamn chimney. How does that make sense? Like, that was like my first thought about that and stuff like that. It's also like I grew up in a house with like, I was like one of 5 kids growing up, so it's like there was no place for anyone to hide. I had no space, like, so to me the idea of like just, I don't know, I wasn't even afraid of the dark most of the time because it was never all that dark because like street lights and shit, and like urban environments are never all that dark or quiet. So it's like a lot of the elements that make like ghosts really believable or like were just not around for me. Like, there was no hallways for me to avoid or run down. It was just like, I was sleeping on the floor and there was the bathroom next to me.
No, my family, we lived in houses that, like, a majority of the houses that I've lived in, half of them were built at one point, and then there were additions made later. And usually I could tell where the additions were just by the fact of how they made me feel as a kid, which was fucking weird. Yeah, I'd walk into a hallway and I'd be like, okay, this is way different than, like, any of the other hallways. And they'd be like, oh, there was a little girl that was stabbed to death here.
Oof.
No, I'm kidding. There wasn't one that bad. We did have one where somebody passed away in the little, like, room heading off of the garage in one of the houses that I lived in. And every time that I'd go in there, I always had to make sure to say, like, hey, I'm coming in.
Oh.
So that was always interesting.
Yeah.
But it was weird because, like, almost my whole family did it. Every time anybody would go down there, we'd always be like, hey, we're coming on in. We're going to go ahead and grab something. Because it was his room, so.
Mm. That's fucking weird. Because
for me, I think it was less about it being scary than it was just an integral thing of, like, it's better to believe than to be an asshole.
But, I mean, it also seems like your dad was just fucking with you the entire time. Because think about it, like...
Oh, no, my dad did that with the horror movies.
I don't know, in my head, my first thought was, like, your dad saw you do that once, so he just started doing it just
No, they started doing it first.
Okay. I was just like, I wonder how much that, like, adds to it if you're a kid and, like, you see your parents doing it and you're like... I don't know, but... Also, there was, like, no old Victorian houses near where I lived.
That's really weird that you say that, because this was an old Victorian house.
That's what I mean, like, if you think haunted house, it's old Victorian, and, like, there was none of that. It was all just, like, box-shaped apartments with, like, way too many people in every room.
Implying those aren't just fucking ghost traps.
Yeah. No, there aren't. That's the thing, too. There's just a lot of, like I said, a lot of the elements just weren't there for me growing up. I just, like, I read it as fiction that I really got into, you know?
Mm-hmm. I guess I also grew up in, like, tornado country, so I was used to shit just always being on the verge of something horrible happening.
You know, I think I also was, like, my older brothers and sisters just, like, again, like, to pull the rug from out under me. Like, they didn't let me, like, buy into shit. They would always call me, like... They would always call out bullshit, basically. And then I would watch horror movies with, like, my older brother, but he, like, loved them. Like, he didn't treat them like horror movies. He thought they were, like, fun and, like campy, basically. We even had the Jason action figure that was pretty sick. And, like, I think we had, like, a Freddy bobblehead or something. Yeah. And then that was also around the time where shit like fucking Freddy vs. Jason was coming out.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that one.
That one's fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
It's really stupid now. Like, the humor is really dumb, but it's fun.
Yeah.
We should do like a review on that. But
that and AVP.
Oh god, AVP. Yeah, I forgot about AVP. That was such a ridiculous movie.
So good though.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Fucking penguins.
Yeah. No, when they write the like mark in the blood. Yeah.
What is it? I think the alien gets its like head ripped off and then it bleeds down through the floor onto somebody. Just shit like that.
Yeah.
It's just great.
Yeah.
I think also, when I was a kid, I didn't really have any friends, so there was no one to really sit there and be like, hey man, this is dumb. So I'd sit and look at these things by myself in a corner all day at school, and then I'd go home, do the same thing again.
Oh god.
Hang out with my little brother. My little brother ruined Santa for me, though.
Really? It's usually the other way around.
No. No, I think mostly the reason I believed in Santa was because I just hated the idea of my parents having to get me presents every year.
Really?
I just liked the idea of it just being something that was given to us by somebody else, so I didn't have to feel guilty every year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
I was a lonely little 12-year-old.
I think also I was a bit on the opposite. Let's not dwell on that.
I was the kid who collected Pokemon cards instead of playing them, and I didn't know what energy cards were because nobody would play it with me.
No one's ever played Pokemon. It's a myth.
Other kids would play Pokemon.
Not the trading card game. I've never met anyone who ever played that. But no, I was kind of the opposite, which is probably why I like the green text stories more, because I would love to like get into small little like huddles with people and just trade ghost stories and stuff. Even if I knew like the person was just fucking with me because they thought I'd believe in anything, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care. This is like fun to be like scared and excited to hear like people's stories. Like, it was great. Like, it was like this like little like kind of community thing. Now I would do it like at school, I would do it at like daycare and shit like that. Just all these people filtering in and out, and I just love doing that. Because like everyone has a story, even if it's like, even if it's the smallest thing, everyone has one. It's so much fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
do you have any?
Yeah, but they're like kind of weird and hard to explain. Like, I only have, I think I have like one. I'll choose my two ones that are nice. Well, I mean, the other one was I had a cousin who their house was basically haunted, and they just like I never really saw much besides like the water fountain. The water faucet would turn on by itself sometimes, which could be a plumbing issue, is what at the time was like what the parents said. But it's also like that plus like seeing shadow people and things moving and shit. And also like our younger cousin at the time that lived in that house, she would like jump up on the bed and say she was playing with someone, even though she was alone. Which, I mean, kids do that, but also it's like
it's a toddler thing to a certain point, and then you have to sort of sit there and be like, okay, what is this?
No, but there was a time once, because I had a younger brother and sister that me and my older brother were taking care of, and we were just in the living room watching TV, and we could see like one of them was like kind of sleeping near us, and then out of the corner of my eye, I swear I saw my other little sibling run into the other living room, and I kind of like just went to my brother being like, hey, can you go like check on her? And he's like, we both kind of looked at each other when we realized that like she was still with us in the living room, but we both like looked at each other like, yeah, I fucking saw that too. I was like, it was kind of it freaked me out, and then we had to go like kind of check it out, and there was nothing there, but
yeah.
And then, well, you tell a story too.
Okay. I used to be a theater kid. I used to do a lot of theater, and one of those things about like community theaters is they are haunted as shit pretty much all the time. Yeah. No matter which one you go to. But one of the ones I was actually working with, I was doing a musical, and my mother was doing a play a couple of months before I was doing mine, and I didn't know that this happened, but whenever they were doing rehearsals, they actually were having enough problems with the theater that they started to bring in like a paranormal investigator, like psychic sort of deal, and everybody was like laughing at it and just being like, oh, this is just a bunch of dumb bullshit. They're gonna go in there, say, "Oh, we saw a bunch of stuff," blah blah blah, and they're all sitting in there laughing. Paranormal people came back in. I might be remembering the story wrong, but they were all sitting there, and out of the blue, they heard something hit the floor in the theater. And the way the stage was set up is they had these two big like planks of wood that sort of counted as walls, and then one that was behind it to give this whole illusion of it like leading to another couple of hallways. And in the center of it, there was this life preserver that was nailed into the wall. They went in, the life preserver had been snapped in half on the floor.
Shit.
So then all of them were like super uncomfortable from that point on, and they just, of course, did the show. Nobody told me any of this shit, because I was going to be doing a show there too, and I'm pretty sure my parents already knew that I was prone to believing in this kind of crap. I went in the theater, and she was breaking down the set. I was hanging out in the seats, just sitting there watching, and just out of the blue, one of the other kids that was there kind of ran across the background between the two walls where the life preserver had once been. They took that other wall down, and I saw a kid run through there, and I just like got up later, and I told my mom, I was like, yeah, there's this kid like running through. Who brought their kid to like break down the set? I thought you were the only person that did that. Turned out she was. Turned out that there was just a kid there, and I guess there wasn't a kid because they locked down the entire building, and it was the exact same place as the life preserver, the middle of the stage.
Oof.
Others of my shows from that point on, every once in a while, like I'd hear stuff or I'd hear voices and shit, which just could have been me. That happens. I've had the tendency. I used to hallucinate a little bit as a kid, but I actually used to have props moved like during the show, but it's always the same part of the show, the same prop that was only one thing that I used.
Yeah.
That would get moved all the time. Turned out a like son and a mother died in a fire in a house that was on that exact same place, and they put a theater on top of it.
Jesus.
Nobody told me that. I just saw a kid dressed in period-accurate clothing for the time that these people burned alive in this theater area, and yeah, he fucked with my props, and it made me really mad because I get yelled at a lot.
Damn. Yikes.
Spooky.
My other story was like, no, it's freaky though.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, that's like,
it like wasn't malicious. That's one of the things I look for in people's ghost stories. Is someone's like, and then it threw a fucking table at me, and it started cursing at me and spitting blood. It's like, it's just an abusive relationship. It's not a ghost. Ghosts don't have the tendency to do that unless it's like poltergeist activity. And poltergeist activity, it's like, were you on your period? That's usually a sign that there's a poltergeist, because they
there's like one every month.
Argon energy.
So there's like one every month. You know, poltergeist.
No, it's got to be like when you're starting.
Oh.
So that's the reason I'm never gonna have kids, because then I'll never have to deal with poltergeists, because I won't have any way for them to get that sweet, sweet energy that they crave so much, that they feed on to manifest and make pig noises.
Oh God. So my other experience for just this one isn't like even necessarily paranormal. It's just kind of weird, but like, I don't know. Have you ever had like an experience where your parent is like confused and afraid, and like you just kind of have a moment where you're just like, oh fuck, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like the moral authority has no idea what's going on. Yeah, the
moral authority is completely lost.
It's just like, I don't know who the fuck to trust.
Yeah.
No, but basically what happened was, again, me and my older brother were home, and we were my mom had left with our little brother and sister to go run errands, and me and him were gonna go to Walmart. So as we're leaving, we're turning off all the lights, making sure everything's locked. We had like our apartment back then was like a weird apartment that was meant to be two separate, like, one bedroom apartments, but like the wall had been knocked in, so we had two living rooms basically. Anyway, so you would have to like round the corner from the one living room to turn off the light switch, which would be on the right side. So I did that. I would like turn off the light switch, and we left. And we came back home. Our mom hadn't gotten back yet, and I went ahead to go round the corner to turn on the light switch, and I like tripped on a chair, and my brother laughed at me. Anyway, later later, I was on a computer with my brother watching, like, I think Dragon Ball Z or some shit. And my mom's like, who put this folding chair there? And then we all just kind of, like, it clicked in our mind that, like, no one was home. Like, we were the only people that could have been home, and, like, no one put that chair there. Like, it wasn't there when me and my brother left. It just was there when we got back. And it's like nothing was missing. The chair was just there, and it was just really scary because, like, my mom had that, like, look of, like, just utter, like, I don't know what could have happened.
Yeah, like, I don't know what the fuck that could have been.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's
going on. That was kind of the look that my mom got on her face whenever I told her my story about the kid running through, and she was just kind of like, you know, there's a bunch of people talking about that kid, and I was like, really?
Really?
But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's that, like, feeling of, like, just, oh God. It wasn't, like, terrifying, like, I got over it, but it was just really scary. Yeah. It was also that moment where my brother was, like, trying to really hard to rationalize it, and I'm like, no, it couldn't have been that. Yeah. This is why, like, my bro, like, they wouldn't have been able to do that. He tried to say my little younger brother and sister did that, but they weren't home. Like, yeah. And even if they were, they're not, like, at this time, they were, like, toddlers, so they wouldn't have been able to, like, to move a chair that, like, far.
Yeah, and you already had to walk through that area, so you wasn't there before.
Yeah, so it was, like, really freaky, and I just kind of, like, nothing else ever happened in the apartment. I don't know. I just didn't think about it. I just was like, let's hope that nothing ever does happen. I don't like ghosts.
God, dude, that's fucking spooky. Yeah.
I don't like the idea of, like, shit just happening.
Yeah. I think it was fun telling some scary stories. You have anything interesting to read?
Yeah, I have, like, one really good, because you have a long one, so I just have, like, a really good short one that I love. So, yeah, just, so sometimes these come from, like, well, most of these come from 4chan, so I'll auto-edit, but I don't think there's anything I need to edit out this time.
I was going to say, I don't think there's anything too...
I think there is something here at the end that would be considered mean, but I know that. Okay. I've told this story many times before.
Where to draw the line.
I know how to, like, edit that out real quick.
Cool.
Anyway, so yeah, just a reminder, Green Text story is just kind of a truncated story that, like, it's told in first person, and it, like, kind of has terrible grammar because of that, and it's just, like, made to be...
story told by some 15-year-old kid on the internet.
Yeah, basically. I'm just trying to say it in, like, a really fancy way.
Well, here's the thing. The best thing about 15-year-old kids is we're all fucking horrified of everything, so we write the best horror.
Alright, well, here goes. It doesn't have a name, it just is. It's just a story. B15. Parents threw me out of the house at midnight for finding drugs in my room. I don't give a fuck.
Ooh.
Pack my backpack and get my sleeping bag. It's summer, so sleeping outside is no problem. Find a lonely spot in an industrial part of town. Sleeping bag down on the edge of the parking lot that borders the building. Cozy little alcove. Go to sleep. Bit spooky being alone and quiet, but fall asleep. Wake up, hear liquid pattering down on my sleeping bag. Fuck rain, man. Wait, if I'm in an alcove, how can it be raining on me? Poke my head out of sleeping bag. Some guy's pissing on me. What the fuck you doing? I yell at him for being a creep. Get out of sleeping bag to kick his ass. He runs off like a motherfucker. Fucking piss soap sleeping bag, god damn it. Wait, this doesn't smell like piss. It was lighter fluid.
Yeah.
That one doesn't...
It gets heavy really fast.
Yeah, right. That's like my favorite story. I love telling that one and pretending like it's mine. My own experience. Like, just... that ending always gets me. Holy shit.
That's good.
Alright. Do you
want another one?
I could poke around, but if you have, like, any personal story that you'd like to tell while I poke around. I guess I could explain more on, like, my cousin's haunted house situation, because I kind of said that, like, in a little...
Yeah, I want to hear the details on that.
Well, like, so there was, like, a lot of little weird things. It was mostly that the things that would happen were, most of the time, like, if you were in the kitchen of that house, sometimes by yourself, you could see, like, sometimes the mom would, like, see someone running behind them, and she'd call out for one of the kids, but then, like, the kids just would be, like, in another room and be like, what? And it's just really freaky. That house had, like, an attic that's the kind where you can only, like, access it from a closet, and, like, I've seen them do it. You have to, like, empty out an entire, like, full closet just to get to, like, this thing that you have to push up really hard to get into. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when they would do that, like, they could see, like, feet running across the attic, like, as they're, like, entering it, which is really freaky.
They could hear them?
No, they could, like, see something run, like, in front of them, like, if someone was up there. And This one, I mean, this part can be explained away a little bit too, but it was mostly that the youngest son of that family would like get up out of bed at night, like would sleepwalk to the front door, walk back, and then sit in his bed and sing, I think, like Mary Had a Little Lamb. It was just really weird. And also, I think maybe the mom.
Did they ever ask him if he like remembered doing it, or?
No, he never did. It was like sleepwalking. So like they would ask in the morning, and he just never knew.
So wait, what would he do? He'd walk to the front door.
Yeah, and walk back to his bed, sit in his bed, put a blanket over his head, and then sing, I think, like Mary Had a Little Lamb.
The kids are fucked.
Yeah. No, it was just really weird.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. It's no, but yeah, that was that house, and I would sleep over there a lot. I never really saw anything weird. Just that one time, like I said, I saw the faucet turn on by itself, or I heard it. We were like playing GameCube, and then we could hear the water running out of nowhere.
Yeah. I do have another story from the same theater. This was one of the things where they used to have a series of these like statuette heads like up and down the sides of the theater. So there was like a box in the middle where everybody sat, and then on the outside there was like the wings, I guess, but you'd have to go outside to go around to go to the wings to get on stage.
Yeah.
I was just hanging out in the wings between shows, just sitting there looking at the statues, and I just heard this woman say hello, and just sitting there kind of laughing. I was like, oh, hey. And I turned around and like looked around, and there's nobody there. There was like nobody near enough of me to like talk to me or anything like that. And I realized that the whole fact that it was coming from behind me meant it was coming from like the statues behind me.
Ugh.
And it was really weird. And I'm sure I just heard somebody else say hello, but I tried very desperately to talk through the wall. Like, said, but can anybody hear me on the other side? Hello? Hello, please. Somebody just tell me you can fucking hear me. And no, nobody ever responded.
Ugh.
I just heard that one voice, and then later saw the kid, and then figured out that the voice sounded like a woman, kind of about the age of the lady that died in the fire. And I saw her kid. It was really weird, and I didn't want to ever work in that theater again. Also, the lighting would sometimes be fucked.
Yeah.
Because they had a lighting guy that actually passed away around there.
Oh, damn.
And he would sometimes, like, whenever somebody was, like, overworking or something like that, the lights would just, like, turn off, and that's when people knew it's like, okay, time to go home. He doesn't want us here anymore.
Oh, God.
It's his theater.
Alright, I'll jump into this one. A lot of the times these can be, like, they can be referring to something out of context, because they'll just, like, screen cap the one story. But I think this fits. Wow, that's pretty fucked up. It immediately reminded me of something that happened to me while I was spending the night over at my aunt and uncle's house. They were putting me to bed, and I was bawling because I didn't have my stuffed dog toys, Woof Woof and Charlie. In an attempt to console me and get my bratty, noisy self to go to sleep, my aunt had grabbed a pile of my cousin's stuffed animals, trying to convince me to take one. One by one, she finally got to a dog that looked like a shitty Goodwill version of one of my old pound puppies that had Jingle Bell in its head. So she shakes it for me and says, "See, his brain jiggles," which got me laughing and made me go to sleep. She tells me goodnight and leaves. I crawl up to sleep, and I'm laying there getting ready to drift off. I hear the thing say, "Do your brains jingle?"
That's kind of goofy.
Yeah. That one's more goofy, but I like that one.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Do you want to read yours?
Oh, are we going to delve into the Dogscape?
Yeah, I think it's time.
Alright. This is a story. It's called Dogscape. I don't know if I need to explain it any more than that.
Go for it.
Here we go. Log 1. I awaken. I don't know it at the moment, but this marks my 4th straight year of existing in the Dogscape. I push myself up from the carpet of writhing, twitching dog flesh beneath me and rise to my feet, stretching in the morning sun. It took me a while to learn to balance on the layer of solid dogs that now blankets every inch of solid ground. But nowadays, I can walk around and run as easily and as fast as I ever did on soil or concrete. Perhaps faster. This was a city once, I think, though which one I can't remember. I only owe my guess to the massive pillars of dogs jutting into the sky, perhaps ancient buildings now completely filled and overgrown with canine biomatter. I climb one once, sinking my fingers and toes deep into the dog wall to gain purchase, and after hours and hours of climbing was rewarded with an incredible vista. Furring eyes, panting tongues, and wagging tails, hugging the contours of the once barren land and stretching in a single, amoebic mass further than the eye can see. Now I don't do that, though. Now I merely go about my day. I hike the gardens where the dog plants sprout up in bizarre shapes from the floor of the Dogscape and reach up to pluck fetal puppy fruits right off the wagging, energetic branches. I bite into the succulent flesh. The juices dribbling down my chin, dripping down to be reabsorbed by the ground flesh, and revel in the savory taste. I'm thirsty, so I range until I find one of the mother mouths. There I suckle about the deep patch until I've had my fill of milk. Sometimes I see other humans around me, as well adapted to Dogscape as I am, but I barely acknowledge them, say nothing. What, after all, is there to say? The world's different now. What meaning would our old words have? Free-ranging dogs are becoming rarer and rarer to see now, and those I do see seem as lost, as passive as I am. They too graze on the dog plants, step carefully over the undulating, bleeding dog floor, dimly acknowledging myself and one another. In the distant sky and off the far horizon, I sometimes see massive forms of sail or crawl and undulate. I wonder if in this new world, normal, singular, ambulatory dogs have become as obsolete as I am. That's the first log. There are, Jesus.
I don't understand, Cody. What is Dogscape? This is the first time I've heard this.
There are 14 logs of about that length. I am not going to read all of them.
Unless you ask us to.
Unless if people want us to read them later.
Okay.
I will.
I don't get it. Why is it dogs?
The world has turned into dogs. Everything is dogs. The floor is dogs. The walls are dogs. Fruit is dogs. Plants are dogs.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't know, but I wanted to read it because that's just a little glimpse into how fucking weird creepypastas can get.
Yeah, that's
like,
a good idea.
Creepypastas and green text it's just a bunch of fucking nerds writing whatever they feel like writing as weird as they want it to be.
Oh, and it's pretty god-awful.
No, dude, some of them are just absolutely fucked.
I mean, there are some really good ones, and I do want to... I think we'll do a dedicated episode to, like, just reading some of the, like, classics. But for the most part, it's, like, ridiculous... I don't know what to call it. It's just... It's its own, like, level of insanity.
It is. It's people getting to anonymously write whatever horror story they think about. And for this guy, that's a world made of dogs.
Do you have anything? Do you want to read another log?
Do you want me to read another log?
Yeah, just read another one. I'm going to try to, like...
Alright. Log 2. I dug down once. Down beneath the dogs. Beneath the hair and the ears and the barking. It was hard. It took a lot of planning. I had to destroy one of the dog trees with my hands. Rip out the twisted yard-long communal spines that served those branches and lash them together with tendons and skin. But soon I had tools. Pitchforks, spears, shovels. I picked a spot where the dog floor seemed shallower and set to work. The blood started spurting when my spear first broke the surface and didn't stop for hours and hours and hours. I was drenched in gore and viscera, covered in flecks of bone and meat and brain. But I learned to ignore the sickening, squelching sounds, ward off the smell, and just keep going deeper and deeper, smearing and levering out dogs. Of stranger and stranger size and build, dogs with 2 heads, dogs with human hands, dogs with writhing tentacles where their back legs should be. Eventually I came to the end of the dogs, or perhaps the beginning of whatever lies beyond the dogs. An expanse of multicolored patchwork fur that extended as far as I could dig in any direction. I would pierce it with great difficulty, but it barely bled, and try as I might, I could only barely peel the skin away, revealing a layer of striated, grayish muscle beneath. It started to tremble as I watched it, shaking the very dog matter around me, and I realized that the Dogscape was beginning to regenerate itself, close in over me, seal me in, so I fled, flying back up into the light. You want another one?
I feel like we need, like, a palate cleanser. I feel like that's enough.
So another one. We need log 3?
No. Do you have any other personal stories?
Huh? I know you have one that you haven't told yet.
What? Oh.
Under the church or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that one because it's like... Okay, so anyway. To preface this, I used to volunteer at a summer day camp. And the summer day camp was at a really old church. Basically, it was like a church from like the 1800s that was still... just still around. It was well built, you know. Mm-hmm. And they attached an office and a courtyard to it, so it was just a nice church and then like just everyday construction office. And that's where they would host the day camp. And we basically did most of our activities in the office itself, but we did serve lunch in like the main kitchen, which was in the basement of the church. So basically, there would be like kind of a spiraling staircase to get to like the entrance of that. Anyway, there was one day where me and a friend of mine who volunteered there, we like to just hang out because, like, whenever there'd be leftovers from, like, the free lunch we give the kids, they just put them in the fridge down there and we just can have at them. So we'd just be, like, down there, you know, eating Otter Pops and eating, like, 10, like, school-grade chicken sandwiches. And we were the only ones there and we were just, like, messing around thinking it was like, oh, isn't it creepy we're down here? But, like, as we were leaving the church, I guess I'll elaborate a little bit more on the layout. So, spiral staircase going down, and then the entrance to the kind of multi-purpose room, large, like, open area where there'd be a bunch of tables, but it's end of the day, so they're all folded up and the lights are all off. So anyway, we're walking out through that door, and then we see, like, a weird pebble just, like, fly past us, and we're just kind of, like, simultaneously turn around, and we hear what sounds like... It sounds like, I'd say, like a crowd of people running back and forth in that empty, like, space, but there's nothing there. And we, like, I just, like, kind of stand there mesmerized, and my friend instantly just bolts up the stairs, so I just kind of, like, instinctively run with them. And that was it. That was, like, the only creepy thing that's ever happened to me there, even though it's just, like, an old church. Supposedly there was, like, I don't know, I want to look into it, but it's kind of hard to find records about it, or, like, even anyone. It's just hearsay that I heard from other workers, but, like, back in the day that the priest would, like, I think he either, like, assault women up in the bell tower or kill them. I can't remember. It changes, but yeah, just stuff like that. It's a really old church. But yeah, it was really freaky.
Sorry, I just always remembered, like, that was a really good story.
Yeah.
Hey, you should probably read it.
No, that's
or
a good...
Say it. Tell it.
Oh, that freaked me out. Like, that was terrifying. Like, I don't know. Like, I probably, like, undersold it, but, like, just that sensation of, like, hearing, like, something in front of you and not being able to see
and looking straight at it and being like, that's not there.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like, you know, as time goes on, you like, kind of just exaggerate it, but I swear, like, I could, like, see the area around me kind of, like, moving a bit, like, you know, in response to, like, a bunch of people running back and forth.
Yeah.
It was pretty terrifying.
That's crazy.
And there was one other creepy thing that happened there. When, before I volunteered there as a worker, I used to go there as a kid, and, like, me and my friends, again, we're always into the paranormal bullshit. And, but there was this one day where, like, in the basement, again, where we all had lunch, there was, like, bathrooms that have since been, like, closed off to students. It's mostly because they're, like, old bathrooms and they don't want the kids to, like, mess with them. But supposedly, like, a bunch of girls ran out there freaked out because they said they saw, like, someone in the mirror, like, someone, like, wearing, like, I think a plaid shirt. And it just freaked the fuck out of them. It's, like, the only thing anyone talked about for days.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. It's a really old church, and we used to like to just try to run around it, even though we weren't allowed to. But yeah, it's just cool. Have you ever been to, like, an old church? They're, like, amazing. Yeah. I could see why people, like,
I used
can
to
have experiences there.
Yeah, I used to go to down in Riverside. There was the oh man, I can't remember the name. It's just this gigantic hotel down there.
Yeah.
Super old, gorgeous place. Spooky as shit when it's nighttime.
Yeah.
Never had any ghost experiences though.
Yeah. Oh, here, look, I found another good one that I want to read.
Go for it. Read it.
So, here goes. Again, these don't have any names. They're just start off. B8 and home by myself. Grandma's out on a date. Watching Pokemon in the living room.
Wait.
Yeah, I know.
Let's talk about that real quick. That's the real mystery.
Yeah. No.
How old is his grandmother? How does she have that energy?
Well, he's 8 years old and they left him at home by himself. I thought that was like part of the weird. And he... Okay, I'm
just impressed that Granny's on the dating scene.
You know, it's not that rare. You could still be pretty young and be like a grandma if you think about it. You could probably be like 60 and be a grandmother for an 8-year-old kid.
That's true.
Yeah, you do. Anyway.
Sorry.
No, that always like...
As soon as I listened to that, I was like, if they're going to be making up a story, it could be so easy, much easier to say, like, my mom was on a date.
That sounds more fucked up. Like you're a kid and your mom left you on a date. Anyway, well, okay.
She's just looking for another dad.
That's the first time I've ever read that out loud.
Sorry, I'm just
no, it's fucking weird. It's weird. It's let it.
All right. Let it go.
I'll take it from the top. B8 and home by myself. Grandma is out on a date.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just
you.
Fucking with you. Just keep reading.
Watching Pokemon in the living room. Hear a tapping on the window. Look through the window and see a man. Back the fuck up. He breaks the window. I drop my Pokemon cards I was holding and nope the fuck out. Run as fast as I can to my great grandpa's house.
What the fuck?
Okay. This is the first time I've read this out loud. I don't.
Does the whole family like live in a fucking compound?
Again, maybe that's not impossible though. Okay, great grandpa's house, four houses down from ours. Tell him what happens. He calls the police. We go back. Man is gone. Police find something among all the cards I dropped. They hand it to my great grandpa. He begins to tear up. It's hard. Tear.
They're both written the same.
He begins to tear up a bit and hugs me. Grandma finally comes home and we tell her. Great grandpa show her what the police found. She turns pale and hugs me tightly. The next day we replace the window and has them put special lashes on them and the doors as well. Few years pass. I finally work up the courage to ask what they found. Grandma shows me. It's a picture from inside the closet at night. You can see me sleeping in the photo. The date is from 2 days before he broke the window.
He was just trying to get out. He realized how many fucking old people there were, and he just had to go. He was there for kids, and there were just a bunch of... If they just popped it a generation back.
But then what if...
You know? Because then it would be, you know...
It's not... I feel like...
Where are his parents?
Okay, what if I reread that, but just like mom goes go to my grandfather. Yeah,
because I've read it with that way before, with mother, grandfather. I don't know why this motherfucker thought that it was like they took the creative liberty of being the fact that this kid lives.
Maybe it was the other way around. Maybe the original. This is the original, and someone thought, "Hey, this is fucking stupid."
Faced it. Yeah. Maybe it's the fact that like they realized this kid lived in a fucking geriatric ward. That's why the guy could sneak in. It's because he knows that it's just stealing candy from the elderly.
Okay.
Sorry, it's just...
Do you have anything else to read?
Log 3.
No.
Log.
No. Okay.
Log 3.
I have with me.
The stream trickled warmly past the black leathery edges of the puppy mouth stream. The saliva waters churned as they flowed from the bed of the stream, lined with the everlapping tongues of eager greeting puppies. I feel a rock on the shore is to find. To feel a rock on the shore is to find sharp milk teeth of weaned dogs, cast to the tufts and mange weeds growing in spits and bank.
What is this?
What?
What?
This person can't... You read this.
Okay,
I'm not having a stroke. This person just
try.
can't write.
To feel a rock on the shore is to find sharp milk teeth of weaned dogs, cast to the tufts of mange weeds growing into spits and bank.
And bank.
The head of the stream is split by a single mound of golden fur, like an unholstered halter set with a large golden eye that swerves to see its passing fit. Okay, fuck you, Stephen King. The waters will bubble and froth should the eyes see you. The tongues lapping nervous, loving greetings with gurgled yelps. Okay.
It's so hard to read because it's just like it's written really badly, but then they throw in as many big words as they can muster.
No, they're trying to like be descriptive, but it just makes it even more like
it just makes it stupider.
Readable.
Log 4, the Dogscape.
No, I have a good...
That's what we call it. Us humans that banded together, I mean. We sit around campfires and cook the whelps we collected from the dog trees. The only flammable materials we have are in the acrid fur that grows everywhere. It offends all senses, but soon the meal is prepared. The only food sources are the dog trees and the mother mounds. Some foolish enough to dig for meat, though. The reward is great. Many don't come... Wait. Some foolish enough to dig for... Some foolish enough dig for meat. Though the reward is great, many don't come back, for the dog flesh regrows above them, trapping them inside the moist ground. Primitive tools are forged from bones and leathers, such as shovels, and knives, and clothes.
Did you fucking say knives? Fuck you.
Say, you caught me. I have lived here for as long as I can remember. There are faint shimmers of the time before the dog flesh. But what use is there dwelling on the past when it cannot fill our stomachs in the present? I am our tribe's scribe. My name is Doc. D-O-D-O-K. I used to have a real name, but it escapes my memory. I recorded all of our findings and knowledge in my leather pages.
Is this the first time you've read this?
No, it's one of those things where you read it out loud
and then you realize it's a great-grandfather.
Think about it. Yeah, you realize he lives with his grandparents, and it's been about 20 years, so he's forgotten his name. Actually, you don't know how old he is. I used to have a real name, but it escapes my memory. I record all of our findings and knowledge in my leather pages, using dog blood as ink. There were times when there were more of us. The tribe started with as many as 60 people. Now our numbers are as few as 20.
Okay.
Our leader is Keith. He instructs us to find food.
Wait, Keith or Keith?
K-E-E-F. I feel like I'm getting more mentally deficient the further I get into this. He instructs us to find food, build shelter, and bring fire. He abuses his power, taking 5 wives and eating more than his share of the food. And those who speak against him meet death in the night. It is hellish, but there was no other choice. Without guidance, we will die out eventually. We will die out here, so we must remain under his leadership. It's been 2 days since my last writing. I am lucky that Keith cannot read. For him, this is all one generation removed from the not Dogscape. How? How do they forget how to read? How do they forget their names? Chief cannot read. Chief Keef. That's what I just can't help but think of him leading this like ragtag band of dog eaters.
Okay.
For if he had seen my statements about him, I would be dead. Yesterday, one of our tribe members, Caught, was killed by accidentally stepping into one of the open dog mouths. His screams of pain as it chewed forced me to crush his skull with a shovel, killing him instantly. The bastard Keith claimed Cott's food ration and his own, as his own. I can sense the others are beginning to tire of Keith's position of power as well. Nobody spoke a word at the night's feast. I will not sleep well tonight, hearing Cott's screams in my nightmares. I fear for my life. Feck was killed in front of all of us by Keith today. He refused to continue digging for meat, so the monster beat him to death with his bare hands as a sign that he would not tolerate a refusal to work. I cannot stand for this much longer. Feck was not even an adult. He could not have been more than 17 human years. I love how that's the necessary thing they put in there. Not dog ears, even though it is Dogscape.
Have you, that just reminded me, have you seen that, like, photo that Rebecca Sugar took of her drawing that she apologized for because people said it was offensive?
No.
Okay, just take a look at this, and then I'll just... Ooh. You get there, you'll get there. Last part. Just read that description. Oh, there you go. For those of you who haven't, it's a picture of, well, I assume it's an African American, which is, I guess, is probably why people think it's, I don't know. Just in the description for this character, bashful, super agile, but not as strong as she looks. Has a wicked shoe collection. Can't read. Can't read.
Jesus Christ. Her key fan fiction is going too far.
Oh my god. Okay, look, I found another one that I want to read. I don't think it's as bad.
Then we'll jump back into Dogscape.
No.
Oh no.
I'm gonna at least read one more good story before we get back into...
back to the best story.
Okay. Beam... I never read these out loud. It's so fucking... Okay, be me. Driving from my parents' rural property to home. I left at 11 p.m. and what is about to happen happens at 2 a.m. I arrive at T-section with traffic lights. Still in the middle of the bush and there's literally no one around. There's a lady on the side of the road. She looks really fucking feral. Dirty, messy hair, stained clothes. Comes over to my car. I do the gentlemanly thing and roll down my window as I figure she is probably needs help. She says, my boyfriend beat me up and kicked me out of his car. I live down the road. Can you give me a lift? She delivers those words in such an unemotional, almost rehearsed tone that I say no. I tell her my car is packed. It is, and she wouldn't fit. I instead offer her a taxi and I can give her some cash. She says the exact same thing without acknowledging my offer. My boyfriend beat me up and kicked me out of his car. I live down the road. Can you give me a lift? I start to get freaked out. Figure she has some mental health problem. I ask again politely if there's anyone I can call for her or if she'd like some cash, but I won't be giving her a ride. She says again, my boyfriend beat me up and kicked me out of his car. I live down the road. Can you give me a lift? Decide she's some sort of junkie and decide to leave her there. I say, look, I'm sorry, but I gotta go. So I roll up my window and she stops it with her hand, peers into my car, and says with the most haunting tone I've ever heard, you made the right decision. She walks away from the car, back to the side of the road. I put my foot down on the gas, call the cops to alert them of her. Is it?
That's spooky.
I think about that story a lot because I've
where we live, there's a lot of transients.
That too, because I've just I don't know, it's scary, and I think about I've definitely been out late at night and seen people on the side of the road, and I wonder.
Yeah. Drifters.
Yeah, don't give them a ride. All right, I got.
Wow.
Well, I mean,
it's kind of brutal.
No, think about all the drifter killers. Think about Gacy and
Gacy wasn't a drifter killer.
No, but he picked up hitchhikers and killed them. I guess that's the other way around.
Yeah, but that's the other perspective. Oh, what, are you afraid you're going to pick up a hitchhiker and find the insatiable need to kill them?
Yeah, you're right. I realized that didn't make any sense when I said it.
You're thinking of, oh god, what was that guy in Florida?
I don't know, man. Here, look.
He joined an assassins group or whatever, at least that's what he says.
Okay, anyways. This next story comes to us from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. This is collected by and retold by Alvin Shorts. It's all folklore and stuff. I love this book, and if you ever get a chance to read it, look desperately for the art that's done by... The book with the art by Stephen Gammell. It's horrific and it's amazing. And another weird thing about me as a kid, a lot of things that people say traumatized them as a kid, I usually loved or just didn't think twice about. The art in this book also. I mean, I'm going to read the story that had the only scary art to me at the time, which was Harold. Because, God, that's a terrifying scarecrow.
What the fuck?
Right? It looks so...
It's just a bloated corpse.
Yeah, exactly. But,
why are his legs like that?
and it's really tragic, too, because they, because it's a scarecrow. Because,
So, not all scarecrows are busting out a split.
They printed these books with really, like, toned down. I mean, it's good in its own right, but it isn't the same artwork, and it breaks my heart. I love this book series, and I
remember
really,
as a kid I used to look at those, and that was just fascinating. But it keeps you up at night.
No, I loved it. I used to just love to stare at these. I used to like just open it up, and the title page within the book has like a 2-page spread of art. And there's another story that I'm not sure if it's in here or not, but it's called The Trouble, that also has like a 2-page spread of art, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm gonna be reading Harold. It's a really good book, and I mean it's a really good art. I recommend trying to track down a copy with the art by Stephen Gamel. Anyway, so here we go. When it got hot in the valley, Thomas and Alfred drove their cows up to a cool green pasture in the mountains to graze. Usually they stayed there with the cows for 2 months, then they brought them down to the valley again. The work was easy enough, but oh, was it boring. All day the 2 men tended their cows, and at night they went back to the tiny hut where they lived. They ate supper and worked in the garden and went to sleep. It was the same. It was always the same. Then Thomas had an idea that changed everything. Let's make the doll the size of a man, he said. It will be fun to make it, and we can put it in the garden to scare away the birds. It should look like Harold, Alfred said. Harold was a farmer they both hated. They made the doll out of old sacks stuffed with straw. They gave it a pointy nose like Harold's and tiny eyes like his. They added dark hair and a twisted frown. Of course, they also gave it its Harold's name. Each morning on their way to pasture, they tied Harold to a pole in the garden to scare away birds. Each night they brought him inside so that he wouldn't get rained if it rained. When they were feeling playful, they would talk to him. One of them might say, "How are the vegetables growing today, Harold?" Then the other, making believe he was Harold, would answer in a crazy voice, "Very slowly." They both would laugh, but not Harold. Whenever something went wrong, they took it out on Harold. They would curse at him, they would kick or even punch him. Sometimes one of them would take the food they were eating, which they both were sick of, and smear it on the doll's face. "How do you like that stew, Harold?" he would ask. "Well, you'd better eat it or else." Then the 2 men would howl with laughter. One night after Thomas had whipped Harold's face with food, Harold grunted. "Did you hear that?" Alfred asked. "It was Harold," Thomas said. "I was watching him when it happened. I can't believe it." "How did he grunt?" "He's just a sack of straw. It's not possible," Alfred said. "Let's throw him on the fire," said Thomas, "and that will be that." "Let's not do anything stupid," said Alfred. "We don't know what's going on. When we move the cows down, we'll leave him behind for now. Let's just keep an eye on him." So they left Harold sitting on the corner of the hut. They didn't talk to him or take him outside anymore. Now and then the doll grunted, and that was all. After a few days, they decided there was nothing to be afraid of. Maybe a mouse or some insects had gone inside, and they were making sounds. So Thomas and Alfred went back to their old ways. Each morning they would put Harold out in the garden, and each night they brought him back into the hut. When they felt playful, they joked with them, and when they felt mean, they treated him as badly as ever. Then one night, Alfred noticed something that frightened him. "Harold's growing," he said. "I was thinking the same thing," Thomas said. "Maybe it's just our imagination," Alfred replied. "We have been up here in this mountain too long." The next morning, when they were eating, Harold stood up and walked out of the hut. He climbed onto the roof and trotted back and forth like a horse on its hind legs. All day and night long he trotted like that. In the morning, Harold climbed down and stood in the far corner of the pasture. The men had no idea what he would do next. They were afraid. They decided to take the cows down into the valley that same day. When they had left, Harold was nowhere in sight. They felt as though they had escaped a great danger, and began joking and singing. But when they had gone only a mile or two, they realized they had forgotten to bring the milking stools. Neither one wanted to go back for them, but the stools would cost a lot to replace. "There's really nothing to be afraid of," they told one another. After all, what could a doll do? They drew straws to see which one would go back. It was Thomas. I'll catch up with you, he said, and Alfred walked down towards the valley. Alfred came to a rise in the path, and he looked back for Thomas. He did not see him anywhere, but what he did see was Harold. The doll was on the roof of the hut again. As Alfred watched, Harold kneed and stretched out a bloody skin to dry in the sun. Yeah, that's it.
Why didn't they burn Harold?
I love that story so much.
No, it's a great story. It's like
it's
with
terrifying.
the image and everything.
Yeah!
It's like...
Oh my god, if you don't look up Harold, the image is horrifying. It's like Chucky if Chucky grew up, basically.
We'll probably put a link.
Yeah, we'll put a link to it. But yeah, it's awesome. I love this book.
It's absolutely badass.
Yeah. But yeah, no, more on that, like, there are a lot of things I hear people say they were scared of that always, like, surprised me. Like, I was never afraid of, like, Courage the Cowardly Dog as a kid. Like, that cartoon, like, the scary moments that people say were, like, freaky. I never thought they were all that freaky. I really loved that. That was, like, one of my favorite cartoons, too, because it was just about, like, fighting monsters, basically. But you're, like, you just have to be creative, I guess. I don't know.
Dude, you know what freaked me the fuck out as a kid was, I think it was like the Mystery Writers or something.
Oh yeah,
that.
Yeah.
It was the freaky purple goo thing.
No, YMS did an episode on it.
You know what? Yeah, he did. That was actually what brought back the memory of me watching a portion of that as a kid, and it just scared the living fuck out of me.
No, weirdly enough, I think the only thing that did scare me was the Halloween episode of South Park with the killer fish. I don't know why it terrified me. I think it was just because we had fish at the time. I know, it was the dumbest thing ever. If you ever go back to watch that, it's like the stupidest episode.
You would read a Harold for shits and giggles, but then a South Park fish scares you.
Yeah, because it killed people, and I gotta see it kill people.
So did Harold.
Allegedly. Allegedly. Oh yeah, but it's a great book. I highly recommend getting it if you find the chance. Do you want to read more Dogscape?
Well, 1 through 3 are all good.
Yeah.
Alright, back to the Dogscape.
Oh god. Alright, here we go with the Dogscape.
This brings our numbers down to 18. Just so you guys remember, Feck just died. Feck was murdered by Keith. There is Keith, his 5 wives, me, and the remaining 11 diggers and gatherers. The others whisper to me. The others whisper to me in secret that I should be the leader instead. I guess they think I have all the answers because I am the scribe. Only time will tell. I was awoken at the crack of dawn by one of the diggers, Gar specifically. He told me that tonight would be the night. The others had a plan. They want me to announce that I am the new leader during the feast.
Yeah, wait, this isn't that far off after, like, reality existed.
No, it's not. They just all, like, everything turned to dogs, and they're all like, I'm Gar. Call me Keith.
Carlo.
They had previous names, and
I know,
they
just
ditched them.
They didn't list the names. It's just like, this is how we're introduced to Gar.
No, he said personally, he's like, yeah, I used to have another name. Don't know what happened to it. My name was probably Charles. What's his name?
Gar.
No, the main character.
Our
protagonist.
I don't think he has a name. I don't think he offered a name.
He says he has a name.
Ah, shit. It was probably something stupid.
Yeah,
I know
no shit.
Okay, we'll just keep reading. We'll remember.
They want me to announce that I am the new leader during the feast. When he is distracted with rage, they intend to kill him from behind. I tell Gar that I accept this plan and will assist them tonight. What have I gotten myself into? Damn them all. I told Keith I planned to replace him. He arose, filled with rage. I waited for the blow to strike him. It never hit Keith. Instead, it hit me. Gar was Keith's spy all along. They dragged me far away from the gardens and tied me to a barren dog tree. He said that a quick death would not befit me, and I will waste away under the deadly dog sun. It just says it just says deadly sun, but I felt dog sun fit.
Okay.
I can just barely reach my journal from here. I suppose this is the end of me. It's not, because we got like 14 more acts of this shit. When the sun was highest in the sky, the heat became unbearable. I saw figures on the horizon. They were not human. They were the hounds that came to eat what the humans leave behind. It all comes full circle.
How's he writing this log?
He said his journal was nearby.
Okay.
He reached for it.
Okay.
They tied him up.
Okay.
He's been writing.
But he's the scribe.
That's what he does. If he's not writing,
I know,
he's
but
useless.
why would they kill the scribe? Keith can't read.
Because he said that.
Okay, wait. So again, we've established that like society existed pretty recently. How does Keith not know how to read?
Keith.
How does no one know how to read?
Keith is older than.
Why are you scribing if no one knows how to read?
Right?
What are you?
Who is this for?
It's a leather dog book. Where's he getting the dog blood? He said he's using the dog blood.
It's everywhere. He could probably grind his heel into the ground and he's got writing material.
Keep going.
I saw the figures on the horizon. They were not human. They were the hounds that come to eat what the humans leave behind. I thought they were going to eat me. Instead, they went for the blood-soaked meat ropes that held me in place. I was free. I kneeled down to the hounds and looked deep into its eyes. Wait, I kneeled down to the hounds, multiple, and looked deep into its eyes.
Okay.
Someone get this man a fucking Grammy. I told them I knew where they could fill their bellies to the brim. It barked once in what I assumed was confirmation. I stood up and we set off to feast. When we reached the settlement, it was amidst their feast. I approached, death in my gaze. Keith was shocked and angry. The diggers and gatherers were quick to his defense. I guess he bribed them with dog meat that they could have, that they fucking dug themselves. I whistled and the hound slinked through the fur. What bargaining chip does he have?
Yeah, wait, how is food sparse? Everything is dog
not.
meat.
They just can dig it the fuck up.
Wouldn't everyone just die of malnutrition?
Who has the monopoly on the dog meat that they're all just walking on?
Yeah, okay. Okay, keep going.
I guess he bribed them. I whistled and the hound slinked through the fur to my side. We struck like a lightning bolt. My fist smashed into Keith's face, just as my hounds pounced upon his closest guards. Though I was physically weak, I was quite fast. I stole a shovel and quickly buried into the Keith's bloat while he was His bloat?
What's a bloat?
Into Keith's bloat while he was disoriented. The smell was sickening, as I expected from a man like him. The hounds made quick work of the rest. I helped, of course. None were spared. I made sure I had my vengeance upon Gar. The hounds were quite full by the end. I took my time and buried each corpse, or what was left of them. I leave this book upon their graves in the hope that someone who can understand it finds it. If you do, take heed of these words. The Dogscape knows all, and is strict but fair. She provides justice where justice is due. I want that on a fucking shirt.
Keep going.
Log 5. I had a dog right after the Dogscape happened. His name was Carl. His dog has a real fucking name. He always followed me around when I was almost dead from starving. He got me dog.
Why are you starving? There's dog meat everywhere. It's on the tree.
It
is the tree.
When I was almost dead from starving, he got me dog fruits. When I was dying of thirst, he mailed milk in his mouth and got it to me. One day his foot got stuck in the mouth and I couldn't get him out, so I watched while it swallowed him. It's literally a dog-eat-dog world.
I don't understand.
A few years later, when I went back, Carl was right there, but he was stretched out, and I went to pet him, except it wasn't him, and he bit me and wouldn't let go. I wonder if people can be a part of the Dogscape too. I miss Carl.
Do you let go? I don't.
How is he writing? He left his fucking book on the graves of the people, or is this another person? Log 6.
Is that the end of log 5?
Yes!
Why is that the end of log 5?
All is one in the new truth. The dog mother is vast beyond imagining, and requires many to be kept comfortable and clean. We chosen do not go unrewarded, however. In her vast wisdom, the matriarch gives us all we need. We sup from her vast heat, a hearty meal unlike any other. It invigorates and nourishes us canistodians, and gives us more than we could have ever wished. The time soon approaches, though, to find new workers. The metamorphosis is upon many of us, and soon we will join with the glory of the dog mound. We are so different from the others. as they shuffle about down among the fetal groves. It's spelled F-O-E-T-L. Is that a word?
No.
The fetal groves. Many of us have a thick coat already, and old Lawrence has already begun to walk on all fours. Soon we will shed our mortal selves and be part of the dog mother. Our mother.
Who's he writing?
Log 7. I think.
No. We need a.
The general committed suicide.
Fuck! Come on,
Masses of flesh and fur just spread like waves across the cities.
Okay.
We found out that whatever it was drinking the oceans and eating anything it came across. Airstrikes, tanks, bombs. It only slowed it down.
Wait, what? There's still airstrikes?
I guess this is at the beginning.
Oh. Wait, take from the top then, I guess. Wait, no, let's do something in between.
You saying you don't want more Dogscape?
I want something before the dog. Do you have any more stories?
We're halfway there. So this is one time Enrique wouldn't let me read Dogscape.
Okay, look. I have another one I want to read.
Go ahead.
Okay? It's about my great uncle Donnie, I guess. Afghanistan, 2010. Deployed in the Horn. 6 months into my first tour on a dismounted patrol, suddenly boom, RPG impacts over us. We start taking fire. We deploy and take firing position. I am firing my SAW.
SAW.
Yeah. Then I see a flash of light. Then I go deaf and blind, and the flash, and boom. I don't know. I'm reading what's written down.
The thing is, nobody edits these, so it's always like...
Okay. The RPG exploded right in front of me. I'm breathing heavily on my back. When I regain my sight, I'm bleeding from several parts of my body. Oh, I'm breathing heavily on my back when I regain my sight, bleeding from several parts of my body. It fucking hurts, man. All I can think of is wanting to sleep off the pain. When I feel someone just punch me in the chest, I open my eyes and see a man wearing an old helmet. He is looking me over and then yells, "I got you, buddy." I feel myself being picked up on my feet, and then he walks me to our MRAP? M-R-A-P? I guess that's probably like an outpost thing.
Yeah, I think it's a military term or something.
Okay. He puts me down on the ramp and disappears. I wake up in a field hospital. They got most of the shrapnel out of me. My command team comes and tells me the story when I blacked out, wounded. Apparently I got up in the middle of the fight, held out my arm and staggered like a zombie all the way to the medical MRP. I was discharged from Army in mid-2011. At home helping grandparents rearrange and organize. Going through old boxes of photos, I freeze up one photo. It's my great-grandma, great-grandpa, with great-aunt Minnie, great-aunt Stella, great-uncle Paul, great-uncle Bob, great-grandpa Mike, in a soldier uniform. And in a soldier uniform.
Why do they write so much about old people?
Okay, the soldier. It was the man who saved me in Afghanistan. Great Uncle Donnie was in the 32nd Infantry Division. He died July 27th, 1942 on Papua New Guinea. In Papua New Guinea, he was posthumously given a Bronze Star with valor, bravery, heavy enemy fire to save wounded comrade. After dropping off wounded man, he turned right around to rejoin the fight. He didn't make it one step forward before he was hit in the chest with a bullet. So,
okay. Why did they need to say every single relative that was in the photo?
You know,
there was Jimmy, Great Aunt Jacqueline, Great Aunt Francis, and then the one that's part of the fucking story.
Oh god, I don't know, man. I again, a lot of these I've never read out loud. I never realized that there was just like
Hey, I'm sorry, it's just funny how they have the endless descriptives for everything.
I know, it was ridiculous. I was just like, what? Okay, so you're going for part 7, I guess.
Yeah, when we're on the topic of war.
Ugh.
I think we knew the war had been lost the day the general committed suicide. The masses.
No, take it from the top.
Log 7. I think we knew the war had been lost the day the general committed suicide. Did you want me to add the Log 7 part?
No, it just felt like that was in the smack dab middle of nothing, but okay, sorry.
So is this entire fucking story.
Okay, fair point. Dogscape.
I think we knew the war had been lost the day the general committed suicide. The masses of flesh and fur just spread like waves across the cities. We found out that whatever it was drinking the oceans and eating everything it came across. Airstrikes, tanks, bombs. It only slowed it down! We were living on borrowed time. It was unstoppable. I don't think it was until later that we noticed all the dogs were gone. And then at night, the howling. It was just too much. The former soldier's face streamed with involuntary tears as he remembered the events. He sat there wallowing in his own emotions, telling his story to a skeleton he found. My unit completely wiped out. I saw those tentacles and those mouths. They tore them to shreds. I ran away, even when they called for help. It's all your fault! The dog tree shifted slightly. The many eyes growing around directed their gaze towards the psychopathic man. You ruined everything. You killed my friends, my family, goddamn everyone. He ran and stabbed one of the eyes with a bone fragment. A howling noise emerged, and a nearby dog tree swatted him several yards. Jesus Christ! Swatted him several yards. He broke a few ribs, and when he hit the ground, that's in quotations, he coughed a bit of blood, but got back up and charged again. This time, he ran towards one of the open mouths around and kicked several of his teeth out. It bit his foot in response, costing him a toe or two. He was so full of adrenaline, he was incapable of registering any kind of pain.
Oh.
He beat and tore bits of flesh with his bare hands until he was knee-deep in blood and gore. One of the tubes he tore spilled some sort of digestive fluid all over him. It burned, but he had to go on. He dug and dug with his bare hands until the ground started to close above him. He kept digging until he found them, the heart and brain. He laughed at his fortune, finding both of them so close to each other. He jammed his hands deep into the gray matter, disturbing the contents and slowly losing oxygen in his tunnel of meat. He gasped and clawed at the heart, tearing it out of place. He collapsed and blacked out. He awoke to many tentacles burying themselves in his body. One hit his spinal cord and fused with his brainstem. A flood of thoughts hit him all at once.
What?
Yeah, no, it's getting intense. As he suddenly became one with the Dogscape.
Oh no.
More tentacles connected themselves to his vital organs as he became assimilated. He saw through every eye in the lands, and he felt every single nerve on the planet. The healing factor continued tearing him apart, but adding new pathways and connections. It wasn't long until he was entirely consumed. His memories faded away as his brain was reorganized into replacing the other one he had destroyed.
Just put a pin in it. That's Dogscape Log 7. There's 7 left. We're not going through the rest of them.
Log 8!
Not on this episode. I don't know who wrote Dogscape. I don't know why.
It's getting good.
I don't think it is.
I think you don't know good storytelling.
So, one more story and then we should wrap up. I got one.
Do it.
Okay, it's a short one.
I got one.
Last year, live in Estes Park, Colorado. Literally hipster central. We all get really sick of tourists who come camping during this time of year and clog up our streets. One of our friends manages to find time to get away and go into the woods. Non-natives couldn't find. She's a photographer, but still has an old Kodak camera. Oop. Decides she's going to spend the night up in the Rockies and take great photos tourists can't get. Comes back the next day with 4 goddamn rolls of film of nature. Gets them developed so she can show us some of the same goddamn trees from 8 different goddamn angles.
This is realistic.
Gets really bored going through these photos. She's showing us I hate nature. Starts speed viewing, flipping all the developed photos with my thumb. Finish, blink, realizing something's off, go back slowly. How did you get the camera to take pictures of you? I didn't. 4 of the pictures are of her asleep in her tent with a flashlight on her body at night. fuck nature, fuck the woods, and especially fuck Colorado.
This is just a thinly veiled jab at Colorado.
I don't know, it's scary.
No, I like that.
I didn't realize, again, I've never read that out loud.
Well, what really got me about it is I don't know how big of a fan I am of that one, because there were no great-grandparents. There were no grandparents.
There was no Aunt Timmy, Aunt Minnie.
Timmy, Aunt Minnie.
No,
Jacqueline, Janet, Janice.
Oh.
But there was an Uncle Donnie.
I didn't realize that, like, same fucking pictures, same goddamn pictures of goddamn trees at 4 different goddamn angles.
Fucking hate Colorado. Shit.
That was, like, a lot funnier than I thought it would be.
Colorado taking fucking pictures of my fucking friends.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I think that's good. I think we're gonna call it. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. If you want us to finish the Dogscape saga, let us know.
We could do a Dogscape episode.
Just take it from the top.
Take it from the top when I can actually read.
No. There's no way we're subjecting these people to the first 7 logs of Dogscape again.
If people want to hear the rest of Dogscape, they can tell us.
Okay, if the people want us to do a dedicated Dogscape episode, let us know. Otherwise...
a Dogscape bonanza.
Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this at all, or we helped kill some time for you, and you got a chuckle, let someone you know about us. Yeah. Pass it along, and thank you for being here with us.
The Dogscape knows all, and is strict but fair. She provides justice where justice is due. Have a good night.
Thank you.